Wow. Look at Riverside.
We'll do the intro later.
Yeah, yeah, that's how it's supposed to
Just
be. Intro
yeah,
goes at the
like
end.
let's just fucking jump in. Let's do this. What were we complaining about? Oh yeah, front end web frameworks. Keep
No,
going.
so you know what I was gonna say, so you know what pissed me off about that is like this whole front end community is like started off as like, oh, I can just write HTML and like maybe put some PHP around it to like, server side things, blah blah blah, everything's great. And then they're like, no, front end frameworks are the way. Abstract all that HTML crap out of the way. Use JSX, use this, React, blah blah blah. And now it's like the front end community is like, did you know you can just like not use React and just write HTML? It's like, no, no, duh. You could. It was there the whole time.
Yeah,
What do you
it's like
mean? Why are you acting
really
surprised?
late to the party. Did you know you can also cache that stuff really easily if that's how you do it? It's like, did you know that like the entire web infrastructure of the internet is built for that and is like really good at serving like a cajillion of those requests a fucking minute?
It's just funny. It's just like
Fuck.
it's like you built your own complexity and then you peel it off as if it's like unique and novel. Did you know I could
Yeah,
just not
that
use
stuff.
React? I could just not do all this stuff and I could just do HTML? Like, yeah, man. That was there. That's how do you think you
Yeah,
got here? You know?
you know,
Like how do you think you got here?
something you said, just like I read something last week. It was about like someone was, maybe it was even on Hacker News, complaining about it. It was like a computer science like quiz that was actually all JavaScript questions, and
Yeah.
it sort of like the
Well,
person wrote an
I think I read the
article.
same thing.
Yeah, where was that? I don't
Yeah.
know. But the person was saying like it kind of revealed that like so much of development is web dev now, just in terms of like the humans numbers of people doing development. So many of them are doing like web dev and specifically front end that there's almost this like loss of like knowing about the layers underneath, where this person was basically saying like, yeah, I heard a front end developer the other day say something like, oh, you I can actually just do that in HTML. That's like wild. It's like, and of
They
course, I want to like shit on them immediately, but I almost feel like, am I doing that? Like, have we forgotten about some like underlying layers too much, where we're like so abstracted already, way above like even the
I
operating system and everything?
I'm sure we have to some extent, but not nearly. I think it's because front end, like you said,
I
has the
like that.
most
You're like, but
devs.
the front end engineers are worse.
But yeah, yeah, I think we have not to
Those
the extent
guys.
of front end. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
those people are weird. No, I
yeah.
mean they have a much higher volume of engineers than any other like security or back end or whatever. Front end is like the majority of of engineers or
Is
tech
that
community,
right?
whatever.
That's like my impression. I just never see any
I mean, that's
numbers.
my
It's wild.
impression. I have no data. Don't don't fact check me
Yeah,
or do. I don't
this
care.
podcast
Yeah,
has no data. Okay, so
yeah, we
just
have no
don't even
data.
come to us with
Literally
any
no
facts.
data. That's my gut feeling. And it does make sense because there's a lot of front end work to be done because that's where the users are
Yeah.
using the apps, right? And like that's where they're
And
interacting.
that's where like your non-technical business user is gonna like hear a complaint and be like, "Well, can we like get this a different shade of blue?" Like that's always gonna be
Yeah.
very like they're
Can
in
you
the
move the button to
line
the
of
side because
fire.
the our CEO is actually right-handed and he likes to have everything on the right side and yeah, it's like I don't care, man, about that stuff, but I'm sure we do that too. But I don't know, like it's just it's weird. It's like you can't call yourself good or striving for good when you're like not understanding the fundamentals. You know what I mean? Like I don't need
That's
you to
fair.
be an expert and write HTML and whatever from scratch, but you gotta know what your front end framework is doing for you. You know?
Who's got time for that shit when they gotta
I don't know if I
learn
lost you. I
a new
think I lost
framework
you.
or a new version of a framework? Oh, are you still there? Holy shit! I just had like an outage.
But now I can see I can be on here now talking all the crap that I want about
Talking
everybody. See,
shit.
front end so bad he
Uh,
got kicked. Don't even
yeah,
see him in
I
the
don't even
front end
have a
anymore. He's not
front
even
end.
rendered.
That's the yeah,
Literally
exactly.
not even rendered.
Yo,
Literally.
it's always reconnecting.
Bro,
What does it mean? Am I still cutting out, bro? All right, hold up.
are you back? Hey.
I don't even know. Sudo mtr Google.com. Let's see what's going on. This is, of course, the night that my fucking ISP would pick. No, no, no packet loss. We're good. We're good. We're good.
Oh yeah,
Wait,
we
no.
are.
Let's not descend into civil discussion here. We're in the middle of railing about front end design, and I'm like, I want to keep going.
No, no, it's true. Yeah. Anyway, the front end, like, you can't say you're good, call yourself good, or striving for good if you're not going to go back and learn the fundamentals. Like, you don't have to be an expert. I'm not saying you have to be perfectly expert on everything, but don't come here and be shocked that your front end framework is generating HTML for you. That's the whole point of it. That's why it was created. You know?
Yeah. It's tough. I feel like web frameworks are seductive in that way too. It's like you learn the framework more than the language. Like I feel like Ruby was the first one like that, where it was like the framework was so much more popular than the language that it sort of like
Yeah.
pulled the language into popularity. It's like mid aughts and later. And
But then you have a lot of the front end people that write React or Angular or whatever Vue, and they're like, but their JavaScript's not even that good. Like they don't even actually know how to write JavaScript outside of a web context.
yeah,
You know, everything's like the JSX or Vue or whatever format that they're writing in,
yeah,
and like you don't actually know how to write raw JavaScript. If I asked you to like, you know, write a program that read a file or something, you'd be lost. And like I feel bad because sometimes you do need to do those things if you want to go that layer deeper. And it's like, I don't know, are you learning the fundamentals or are you just learning that framework? And I think most people are just learning the framework.
that's interesting. Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I know that I'll say this. One thing I've really enjoyed recently is Phoenix, which is like the Elixir web framework, the big one,
Yeah.
um, has a really nice blend of it gets you really close to like a single page app type of thing without needing a heavy front end framework.
Yeah.
And so it's got a thing called Live View, which is like WebSockets, and pushing like really small diffs over a WebSocket. So you do get like small updates. It's really cool, really I think technically really cool. And you can kind of choose like, do you want old school just like request response, or do you want WebSocket based like, so like, you know, stateful
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
connections for like really fancy views, and you can have both in your web application. And that's made it really cool. You know, you could write a very simple, totally traditional kind of like 3-layer web app. And then you could have just one page. Like one thing I did with it is like you could do like kind of real time and like pub subby things that are just kind of like, it took me like 2 hours to write a like prototype for a friend of a basically like a page where like that's aware of all visitors to it, and they can all essentially see
Like
like stuff
interact or
when
whatever.
he's on that
Yeah.
page changing the content. It's like that's pretty cool. Like that's pretty dope. Anyway, sorry. My point is that that framework gives you a lot of front end like goodness, but it still is very much like most of it's just like around the idea of like server side rendered HTML. Like that's still the dominant kind of like uh, lens that it sees, that it kind of works through.
Yeah.
They're moving to this like componentized approach, which a lot of front end people are familiar with. I'm just not a huge fan of it.
Yeah, it's weird. That's also a weird conversation too. Is like, you know, do we do a lot of client side stuff or server side stuff? And we the pendulum swings every now and then depending on what year it is. And it's like, honestly, I don't even think it matters anymore. You know, just pick what's best for your app and what's best for you to code. And like, as performance concerns come up, just figure it out. You know, like it's okay. And I think like DHH was on a couple of interviews like a couple months ago talking about some of this caching stuff. Honestly, this whole minified JS stuff is kind of crap, you know, because it's every deploy, every little change that minified JS file is now out of date and now has to be like invalidated in cache or whatever. But most of your stuff's not changing, you know, like most of your supporting JS code or whatever is not changing. So why are we bundling it all together in the same minified place and telling it to be invalidated? Like we don't need to do that.
Interesting.
So
Yeah,
I don't know.
especially
There's
because
just
like
things we can do.
modern, like newer versions of HTTP, and like modern browsers can actually do a bunch of stuff in parallel. So you're not actually helping yourself that much by with sending one big minified blob instead of
Yeah.
more than
HTTP
one.
1.1 does pipelining. HTTP 2.0 does like multiplexing or whatever. I might be getting my terminologies mixed up there, but the idea is that
I
like,
learned that from
you,
the video you made on YouTube, by the way.
yeah, yeah.
Didn't I?
I'm getting over being sick, so my mind is a little foggy. But yeah, like it's just let the protocols work for you a little bit better. Gone are the days where we have to wait for one TCP connection to give us everything back. We can make multiple TCP connections now and get small files, and it's fine.
You know what this reminds me of? Just like a uh, what's his name? Bill Kennedy like reference, like mechanical empathy. I think is such a
Yeah,
good idea, and this is kind of that, right? It's like if you don't understand the foundations and the protocols your stuff is built on, and like how every load balancer in the world works and every caching proxy, like you can't leverage or know that you're leveraging those things if you don't understand that, like just the basics of that they exist and how they work.
Like the whole SIMD stuff, right? Like single instruction, multiple data thing that people were talking about, especially with that billion row challenge or whatever a couple months ago. People are like, we use SIMD. It's like, great. And you know why that works? Is because we have the ability to process things in parallel.
Yeah.
Like we have this capability now. Why are we stuck not taking advantage of these things, right? Like, let's take advantage of SIMD where it makes sense. Let's take advantage of HTTP2 when it makes sense. Let's take advantage of things that make our lives easier when it makes sense. But yet, we're still stuck in this single-threaded event loop JavaScript world. Like, okay.
Dude, it's
weird.
everyone, you know. I mean, you would think, this is funny, I've been playing Microsoft Flight Simulator lately, and it's the big 2024 one just released. I'm still on the 2020 version. I'm like looking at the differences, just like,
no.
Yeah, I know. This is what you all get. No one loves me. Now I can fly my planes. What are the big new features in 2024? You want to guess what it is? It's no longer single-threaded. You're like, what? I'm sorry, what? It's like performance will now be better because it's not single-threaded.
Bound, yeah,
like,
yeah.
Dude, I had my first multi-core machine in like 2004. What the fuck are we doing here?
Well, that's the thing.
It's
like
Microsoft. What, you don't have developers to do this?
My other Dave friend, who's not you, the other Dave that I know.
No, not
There's always another one.
Tell him he's changing his fucking name.
I'll tell him. I'll see him tomorrow. I'll tell his ass. Be like, Dave, you gotta get out of here, bro. No. We were just talking about this yesterday, where he was like, "I'm so excited to see, like, better software because the hardware can do so much today, and our software is garbage in comparison to it, and we're just not taking advantage of it." And that's the case right there. Video games are still being made single-threaded when multi-core processors have been around for 2 decades.
It's the main loop or something. It's not the whole thing, I promise. But it was just like, yes, exactly.
I get it. What? I know, and I know video games take a long time to be made. I know all that stuff. But I'm saying, like, we can do better. And you know, even with JavaScript, like, I know it's single threaded, but I know it has its own event loop and it does its own async stuff. I get that. So it is pretty decent. But like, we can be better now. You know, we're not bound by we don't have to be bound by those constraints.
Papers were written in 1974 that allow us to be better now. Finally.
Yeah.
We can do it. It's like, I guess the state of the art, like the state of practice is so far always behind the actual state of the art. Because
this is true.
I mean,
this is true.
I don't read a lot of papers. That's on me. Like, I don't read a lot of comp sci papers, but when I see like for example, today I was actually just looking up, I was curious about how Kafka does something, and I was looking up at the difference between consistent hashing, and I was like, you know, consistent hashing, it's a term you see for like load balancers, like lots of things do that because it's clever. And then I was like, I remember I'd heard, oh, actually a lot of things where you hear consistent hashing, they actually do something called rendezvous hashing. It's a little bit different, it's more efficient. And you look at the Wikipedia article, and it's like rendezvous hashing
1974.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's like new. No, it's much newer. It's from 1994. And it's like, we're just starting to roll this out, like in all of the stuff that could have used it 15 years ago, you know? And whatever, it makes little things, but it's like a big deal for especially data systems or, you know, load balancers where, database systems too, where it's like, if you have a bunch of replicas, like, just in case anyone's curious, I think rendezvous hashing is the thing. If you have just consistent hashing, if you lose a node, like rebalancing, you actually have to shift around a lot of data.
Yeah.
With rendezvous hashing, I think it deals more with like weights, whatever's closest gets the thing.
That's cool.
Only the data from the dead node basically has to get moved to the new one. So it's like much more efficient for data.
Yeah, because consistent hashing is meant to be like better than just straight up like non-consistent hashing. Because if you lose a node in consistent hashing, you don't have to replace one node's worth of data, or versus like rebalance everything. But that even sounds better. That's pretty cool. I gotta look into that. Speaking of the white paper stuff, I've been trying to read more white papers because I'm like, actually, this whole field is, if you read white papers, you can get pretty far and you can actually learn a lot and you can actually like wrap your head around these things. I've been trying to read more white papers. It's hard because they can be dry, but I'm starting with like the small ones at first, you know?
Like what kind of stuff are you reading?
like this one that my coworker sent me about like F5 load balancing and how their white paper on it, or Kubernetes white papers about how they do their concepts. I've been reading those things. I forget the title of that one. That one I'd have to look at the message
That's
he
cool.
sent me, because that one I didn't read yet, and it's on my list to read. But I've been just trying to do that. It's just make it a point to stop reading like the bullshit coverage of these things, and read the actual source of truth
Hmm.
instead, and then go from there. Because it is nice to read a blog post or to read this or whatever, but sometimes they don't explain it correctly, and the source
Yeah,
of truth
it's very
explains it like,
secondhand. It's true.
yeah, and the source of truth explains it difficultly, but the best, you know difficulty. I don't even know if that's a word.
I
I
mean,
don't
it
even
makes
care if
sense
it's a word.
because, yeah, I mean, especially in my like free time reading, it's easy to default towards something that's easy,
Yeah,
but it's like if you there is a payoff to just like fighting your way through something difficult. Yeah, it's slow, but at the end, you actually understand something, and you understand maybe like the concept of why it is the way it is, and that's something that'll actually help you.
yeah. This one was called the "Get Me to the Cluster" white paper from Nginx F5, about how to like how traffic gets from your external users through Nginx to Kubernetes. And there's a
Hmm.
white paper about that, and it's just really cool. Just looking through that and seeing, oh, okay, it's not as magical as people have made it seem. It's literally a freaking load balancer in front of some Kubernetes nodes that are already listening on a port. It's no different than me spinning up 3 apps, putting Nginx in front of it, and calling it a
Yeah.
day. Like, it's just there's more that happens when it gets to the Kubernetes node, because from there the proxy takes over, like all that stuff. And it's just very eye opening, But if I went to go to YouTube and say, like, how does this work? I'd get some freaking 20-minute video of someone talking on for 17 minutes about like something that doesn't matter, you know, and 3 minutes worth of, oh, yeah, I don't know.
That is in fact my channel. Yeah. No.
and he
Yeah.
lost thousands of subscribers today. No,
Yeah, exactly. I came on this podcast only to tell you unsubscribe from Tutorial Linux.
don't
Fair.
do it. He's a
Honestly, very
fraud.
fair.
No, just kidding.
uh,
Oh, shit.
I couldn't remember an LSOF command today. I had to actually look it up. It was just -p, and I was like, "Ooh, I gotta do more Linux stuff again."
You know, you were reminding me. So I was on an Illumos box today at Oxide, like to
Ooh,
get
oh
some
yeah, of
some
course, because
logs
they're
and stuff.
carrying on the Solaris legacy. I know they
They
are.
sure are. And who has never used Solaris before Oxide in his life? This guy right here.
I mean, you and
So,
like 7.5 billion other people, but yeah,
correct.
there are
Exactly.
dozens of us. Yeah.
The entire Lumos, like Solaris people, they're pretty much at Oxide.
Yeah. That's right. That's
It's
funny.
pretty much like that. But
That's
so I was
cool.
on there and I was like, I just felt like my skill level dropped to like
Hmm.
noob again. I didn't
Cool.
know, like, outside of the basic commands, like, built-ins like ls and cp and all like,
Yeah.
that's kind of ubiquitous across the unices. But I
Yeah.
was like, I don't know how to
As soon as
list
you move
services.
outside
And
like POSIX, yeah.
yeah. I was like, list services, get their logs. I don't even know what the command is. Oh,
Yeah.
zones, how do I what are zones? How do I manage it? How do I
Whenever
do
you
this?
type in systemctl, you just get like an electric
Yeah,
shock, like to your
right.
nuts.
Exactly.
Ah, no, no. Okay, I'm
And I'm
sorry.
just like, wow, that's I don't know what I'm actually doing here. I need to go spend some time. And I did. I went to go do some research and understood like what commands I even care about and what I want to do. And it was pretty nice to see how they do things. And I learned a lot. But it's just like context matters, You're not a bad engineer because you couldn't remember that LSOF command. Like you're just out of the context. You haven't done it in a while. You've lost some shine there, and that's fine. Doesn't mean you don't know the concepts. You knew what you're looking for, right? You're looking for open files used by whatever process. Like,
Yeah, that's true. Right. Yeah. It's like I'm manipulating the concept behind that, and it's just like just the actual like command is what I'm struggling with. Of course, someone who never learned that like everything's a file, and that's how you can find processes and what they're doing and what file handles they have open. That then you have nothing to go on, and you just can't. Yeah, right. Then it's much harder than just looking up a command.
yeah,
I'm
No,
sorry. Where are
it's
they using
interesting.
Illumos? Is it like your like desktop workstation? Is it like the
Hey,
servers?
you can't let it go, huh?
I'm like vaguely I'm disgusted and turned on at the same time.
Yeah, so we actually run Lumos on the hypervisors, like the node, the actual physical computers that are in the Oxide
Man,
rack
I would
that
have put
run
money on
everything.
FreeBSD, honestly. I would have been like, they're doing zones, they're doing like that
Well, they
whole
are
like
doing zones. Yeah,
beehive like
yeah.
network.
It is zones, but it's our own version of Illumos called Helios. It's open source, so that's what runs on the actual rack. Sorry, on the
Super
actual
cool.
sleds in the rack, and then from there, the control plane on the Oxide rack just communicates with that and says, "Hey, start VMs, do this, do that." Right, it
Hmm.
just manages the hardware. But if you SSH into like an actual sled, the bare metal part of it, you're in Illumos, and you can
That's
see all
so
the zones
cool.
and yeah.
Oh, that's such a good design. Yeah, so your control plane is essentially whatever. You've got like web stuff for users, then you've got that talking to like the control plane that's going to make decisions about things going
Yep.
on.
That's all
And
running
then that
on,
control
yeah,
plane is actually hooked directly into these just like the standard like primitives like zones and
right. Yeah, so you
that,
have
dude,
like,
that's such a good archit. I think that's
yeah, it's
so
pretty cool.
awesome.
You
I mean,
so you have
talk
like,
about like leveraging the foundations, right? Like that's
yeah, yeah, like even the hypervisor. Yeah, we wrote our own like hypervisor, in so many words, but under the hood, it's still using like I think Beehive under the hood.
that's
So
cool.
it's like the core functionality is there, and we're just making really good use of it. And the control plane runs on the Oxide rack itself as like
Mm-hmm.
its own zones that
Mm-hmm.
users can't see or manipulate through the
Yeah.
control plane at all, right? It's like kind of zones that we only can talk to
Like a
and communicate.
privileged. Yeah, that makes sense. It's like you have
Right.
sort of
But
standard
like,
like privilege separation for.
yeah, and if you spin up
Is
a
there
VM on the Oxide rack, you're going into a zone on some sled somewhere, and you're just that's where your stuff is
this is so sad
located.
because I learned this first, but in Solaris and the like FreeBSD, etc., are the well, it might be totally different on them, but is there obviously there's like privileged and non-privileged zones, right? Like where everything's just like virtualized for it, like the network stack and everything. Is there is there like UID mapping the way there is in like Linux,
I think
containers and
each
stuff where like
zone. So mind you, I'm still very new to the whole Lumos game. I was doing like a little deep dive research the other night when I was sick, but I was sick.
but you're sick.
As
Yeah,
far
I
as I
get
remember,
it.
the each like a zone is kind of like almost like a C group essentially or namespace in
Hmm.
Linux, right? So you're getting your own
Does it
network stack,
run
you're
just
getting
like
your own
as
file
its
system.
own process under a user
That I don't know. I don't know
or like a
how
set of
like how
processes?
they're implemented and how it actually works
Yeah,
under the hood. I don't know if it's like a fork of some process or something. I don't actually know.
I gotcha.
Um,
I gotta look that up. That's cool.
Me too. Yeah,
I love that
I
this
gotta
is
do more.
alive, honestly.
No, the more I use it though, the more I'm really happy about how it's designed. It feels right. It feels normal, and like all the commands that you use to manage this stuff is like ADM is the suffix instead of CTL,
Hmm.
right? It's like zone ADM if you want to manage zones or IP ADM or all these things. But it was cool. It was nice to dive into it and like because I have access to some racks like that we own internally, and I
Hmm.
poke around and just try to figure out what things are look like. So I've been doing that every now and then just to gain more knowledge.
Can I ask? This is I'm like promoting Oxide for you. I'm sorry.
We were supposed to talk about news and talk
I
shit about
know
people
that's
or
not happening.
whatever we're supposed to do. I don't even
Um,
know what we're supposed to do.
we're really bad at this. Is there a way to just buy like, is there like a timeshare? You know what I'm saying? Like, can I not buy an entire like Oxide rack for 300 grand or whatever it costs? Can I just like rent a VM? Do you guys have like a cloud
We
that I
don't
can
have a
just
cloud.
sign up
I
for?
mean, it's funny
Because
because
I
like
want to run
that's
my
what we do
things
internally. Like
on
we
your
have a
cloud.
rack. Yeah, we have a rack stood up in a colo that all of the internal Oxide employees like we have access to. So we treat it
Yeah,
that way, where it's like that's our
yeah,
cloud, and we spin up our VMs in our own projects and all that. That's what I do. All my infrastructure is running there now, and
that's
like
awesome.
Oxide encourages us to run our personal projects on the Oxide rack too. So buy
That's what I want to do.
DigitalOcean, buy AWS, buy all that stuff. I'm gone with that.
Yeah,
So
that's
I'm
what I'm
running things
talking about.
there, but no, we don't have like an offering like that for like customers. But you can request a preview to the Oxide rack if you're like, I want to play around with it, test it out for a little bit.
So
There's a
they'll cut me
form on
some
the
credentials
website.
or something.
Yeah, yeah. They'll slice you off
It's
a little
just
bit of the rack.
okay. If anyone wants to get together with me, and like we all throw down like 10 grand or something, and then we just like buy one of these babies and just stick it in colo somewhere, I feel like
Honestly,
because
I
they're
think
dense, right? And it's so clever.
yeah,
I saw
yeah.
the whole cooling design. It's just like it's it's just great. Like from design
And
from
the
first
power usage
principles,
is
like great.
fantastic. Like
Really?
compared to what you if you want to fill a 48U rack with servers,
Yeah.
you're going to get a much louder experience and a much more power
Where it's
hungry
those shitty 40
experience.
millimeter fans that like
Shitty
soak up
40
so much
millimeter, yep,
energy, are super
yep.
loud. Yeah, that's
Two
true.
like PS, you're gonna have like in the back, the cabling in the back of that rack is gonna look like garbage because you're gonna have two power supplies on each side,
Right,
two
because you're essentially
feeds.
you're
Yeah,
integrating a lot of the cabling. Is it like a backplane type of thing, like one of those
yeah,
SANs, or
exactly. It's like
that's cool.
like a
That's
cabled
such a
back
good
plane
design.
that it could just be like plugged into from the front, and so like power and network all come over the back plane. So there's no like wire you have to keep plugging in or whatever. It's just as soon as the sled is slid into the cubby, it's connected. It's done. Power, network,
That's
everything's
awesome.
there. And it's like,
That's
'cause
awesome.
I've cable managed racks in data
Yeah.
centers. That shit sucks, dude. Even if you
Yeah.
have like the proper size cables or you're making your own or whatever, it
Mm-hmm.
sucks. You just have power cables hanging on the right and on the
Mm-hmm.
left, and then network cables and this and that. And now all the heat that's trying to come out of the back can't.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
It
just like,
runs into a forest of these
yeah, yeah, it runs
cables.
through a
Yeah.
forest of these things, and then God forbid you have to take one use server out of the rack. Now you have to like find out which one plug. No, I'm good, bro. I don't want to do that anymore. That
Yeah.
sounds
It's
horrible.
gross.
And you're wearing freaking headphones the whole time because it's loud as hell in there.
I never wore headphones. Maybe that's my problem.
What? Just-
Yeah.
What? Can't hear you over my tinnitus, dude.
Yeah.
Get out of here. No,
Interesting.
it's cool, man. It's fun.
It's cool.
Very eye opening experience and very very cool to kind of go
Because
back
like if there was an
to the hardware
Oxide
like stuff.
cloud, I would use it. I'm just like,
I think that somebody should do that. Somebody should like
just tell him. That's all I'm saying. You know,
yeah,
who I'm
yeah.
talking
Somebody
about. Just tell him.
should get together, buy like a few Oxide racks, put them in different regions, and offer some cloud service
If
for the
someone
home
would like to
labbers
give
or
me
something,
VC
or
money for this, like,
or whatever.
I can get this done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that would be cool. We Oxide don't have the bandwidth to do that. Obviously, like we're
Yeah.
building
you're
the damn
busy.
thing.
You're
Yeah,
busy doing stuff. Yeah.
but I would love to see something along that line. Buy a couple racks.
It feels like
Here's
What kind of
USC's one,
density do you
baby.
yeah, yeah. If you sorry, last Oxide question. I'm just gonna
No,
cut
it's
all this
fine.
out because I'm no one wants to hear this.
It's fine. It's
What
whatever. If Brian gets mad at me, it's all good.
what
No, he won't.
what kind of density do you get? Like, so like you take a rack, like how many, let's not even worry about like vCPUs or whatever, but like how many cores am I getting? Like how much
Yeah,
memory
I got
on
you.
an average?
So if you get a full rack, there's 32 cubbies, right? 32 sleds in that rack, and each sled has one CPU in it with 64 cores, I believe. So a fully populated sled gives you 2048 cores.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do like SMT or hyperthreading, so like we're not giving you access
Yeah,
to
so you're getting like
hyperthreaded
a
cores.
real core. It's
Yeah,
not.
you're getting
yeah,
so VMs are getting a real core, not a like hyperthreaded core or whatever.
yeah.
Um,
Half of a
So-
right. They call it a
so
vCPU,
yeah.
I think, but for most of them, it's
Yeah,
literally like
vCPU.
half of a core.
correct.
Bastards.
So yeah, 2048 cores that you can use, and out of that, there's we have to run the control plane services and whatnot, so we take up like a percentage of those cores, and then you get access to the rest.
Yeah.
And then RAM 32 terabytes because each cubby, each sled has a 1 terabyte of RAM in it. 32 of them, 32
Whoa.
terabytes. And same thing, we take a slice of that for a control plane. And then storage, it's like 930 terabytes raw, but we take up storage for the control plane, and every VM's disk or every storage block storage device that's created on Oxide is replicated 3 times. So you'll like out of the 931 terabytes, you're probably gonna get like 240, 300 usable because of the triple replication and all that stuff that we do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's like a full rack. That's the specs you're gonna look at.
Yeah. It's like 1,000. Call it like.
I mean, this is all publicly available on our website too. So I'm not like
giving. Sorry, I'm just like specking out how much I'd have to charge per cloud.
No, this is good. This is good. No, this is perfect. I was just actually on a call talking about pricing today internally, so that's funny that we're talking about.
And you for is whatever. Sorry, I'll ask you what the service life cycle whatever. However, whatever. Yeah, that's cool. The numbers make it interesting. Cool. I'm just gonna like cut that out and stick it at the back as the appendix because I got
it's fine. I don't mind. It's what gets you is that like you can probably you can get more VMs and stuff running if we give you access to like the vCPUs instead, or if we didn't replicate storage as aggressively. Like sure you can fill it more densely, but you wouldn't want to, right? You would want to like run it.
Well, yeah, because then you have to externalize all of that again.
Correct. Yeah.
Like you have to do that at some point. So
what you're getting in the power footprint is kind of amazing. Like I replied to I think a post on Twitter or Blue Sky. I don't even remember anymore which one it was. But I replied to a post where someone was like, "Oh, look at this data center. It's called the Exa cluster. We have this many cores, this many whatever, 100 kilowatts of power." And I was like, "Dude, 2 Oxide racks is 30 kilowatts of power. What are you burning 100 kilowatts of power on?"
Yeah.
Your specs aren't even that much. And granted, it was GPU workloads, so the workload is different. Yeah. But I'm like, that's a lot of power. Power is going to be, power is going to be like the topic of conversation going into the next couple of years of tech for sure. Like if you're not running efficiently in the data center or even on the consumer level, I mean, look at the MacBooks, right? Look at the new MacBooks. Like people are using them because they're very good and power efficient.
Yeah, that's true.
If you're not running efficient in the data center, you're not going to be attractive anymore. Like it's really just going to come down to that. Sorry, I know.
How am I going to explain this to my wife?
Do you have a 9-foot ceiling or whatever available somewhere in the house? You just need one of those. That's all you need, dude.
Yeah. Honey, if you hear loud humming from this room, just like run as fast as you can. Yeah.
I am going to a data center soon to see the Oxide racks. That's going to be fun.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's really cool. All right, I'm going to switch topics completely.
Yeah, we were supposed to cover news.
I read an interesting...
Oh, okay.
Here we are. What are we? 34 minutes in. Hey, we're doing it. Hacker News.
I blame you.
It's me. That was a fully Dave fueled rabbit hole. Like I just get excited. You know what? I hear about a thing. I think it's good. I get excited. I read an interesting article called it was something about large established code bases. There was a kind of interesting discussion around it. It was like a classic Hacker News. Has a lot of insight there. A lot of them work for big tech companies. I've never worked, so they defined large code bases as 5 million lines or more. So single digit million lines or more, like 5 and up. And I was just sort of realizing, I've never really worked on something that big on a code base that large. And they're like, well, a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to work on a big old mess like that. And it's like, well, those are the things that are driving 90% of the revenue at most places that they exist. So they gave a few tips, and I'll just read them quickly. If you're working on something like that, they were like, I learned it's really important to be super consistent. If there's already a way of doing a thing, even if it looks weird, imitate that way when you're implementing the thing, because you don't understand fully why. Hate that.
I don't think I have that on.
God, I wish I could turn that off.
My wife does this to me all the time, so I
hate it so much. I can't stop it.
Hate it so.
Yeah, exactly. Careful adding dependencies, because all dependencies in a huge project like that add real long-term cost and like security surface area, all that stuff. So like it's not a small deal to just add a library to do something instead of doing it yourself. Remove code when possible. instrument it first. And I'll just read a quote. I thought the most interesting thing in there, I thought was basically saying that um, monitoring, like instrumentation and monitoring at some scale overtakes your ability to actually test the code base. And that fucking blew my mind. So here's the quote. You can't rely on your ability to test the code in development like you can in a small project. Any large project accumulates state over time. For instance, how many kinds of user do you think Gmail supports? At a certain point, you can't test every combination of states, even with automation. Instead, you have to test the crucial paths, code defensively, and rely on slow rollouts and monitoring to catch problems.
That sounds familiar to what like observability influencers, companies, whatever, are saying. Like you should be instrumenting your code in development. Like tests are great, but you should be instrumenting your stuff in development and running it that way and debugging through telemetry. That way, when it goes to production, you catch the rest of the stuff that you couldn't possibly catch in testing because you just can't enumerate everything. So that's sound advice, honestly. I really like that.
I think it's really interesting what you said. I agree. And I just caught myself thinking, how broken is our industry that we have something called an observability influencer? And I know exactly who you're talking about. It's like, A, I'm like horrified that that is a thing. B, I'm kind of horrified that it's like probably a thing we need maybe right now.
I mean, I don't say it in a bad way either. I'm not
No,
using observability influencer in a
not
derogatory
at all.
way.
I use it as a slur personally, but I understand
Yeah.
how you're saying it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's more of just like we've gotten off track of what observability means and why it's important as an industry, and like people, that I'm thinking about are correct in reminding
Yeah.
people that we should be
Exactly.
doing this shit.
No,
Yeah.
exactly. We're terrible as an industry, and like, I mean, we're still really bad at ops and like the basic shit that operating stuff at scale entails. Like, we're really bad at logging and monitoring and instrumentation
I look at my
and
refrigerator and it has more
alerting. We're so
telemetry.
bad at it.
Yeah, it has more telemetry than the average application out there. My refrigerator has a sensor for the light, has temperature sensor, or like it shows me the temperature thing. Like it has more observability than half the stuff on the internet. And it's like, why?
Yeah.
Software is supposed to be malleable and supposed to be easy to change and whatever.
Well,
and
that's the problem.
And we're not adding telemetry to this to like
Yeah.
help us. You know what I mean? Like you can't even answer the simple question, how many HTTP requests did you get in the last 30 minutes? You can't even answer that question. And that's such a simple thing to answer, and it's weird, man. It's weird.
Point. How many years has it been since DevOps was popularized? And that is maybe like a core problem from like the division
15?
between like people that develop things. Yeah. Feels like a solid 15 at this
Feels
point.
like that.
It's like 2013 or so we started hearing about it.
Ish. Yeah.
I really feel like it's you get these movements. It's like we're such a hype driven like industry. It's so strange to me. Like you get these movements, everyone buys into it. Everyone participates in like the required rituals to assure shareholders that they are in fact doing DevOps. And look, we're even hiring people called DevOps engineers. And 15 years later, devs are still writing software that isn't instrumented in any meaningful way.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that was
it reminds
DevOps,
me
like,
of
right
the
there.
it reminds me of the auditing stuff. Like we're audited and we're certified for this. We must be secure. It's like no, that audit, that certification means jack.
Yeah.
Actually, you'd be better off just spending time on your app rather than trying to certify for this fake ass thing that nobody matters. Yeah, it's weird. I don't like the hype cycle.
Reach.
I don't like the trendiness crap.
key
Yeah.
in my computer right now. If they had listened to what you just said, they're certified up the wazoo. And you know what? They had one job. Don't let someone with physical access to the hardware be able to reverse engineer the key. And they failed. And somehow it's like everyone has one of these in their thing, and they failed at the one thing they were supposed to do. It's like
I literally have a YubiKey here because we need it for access to one of our things. And I use their like resident SSH key or whatever, where that's the private key is like embedded to the device or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, this is great, but now I have to bring this device with me everywhere or plug it in and touch it, and it's like I'm gonna forget this at some point. I know I am
fully defeated. Yeah. Didn't
and
hear
if I lose it, I have to redo the whole thing. Yeah,
exactly. And that's the thing. It's like a story like that comes out where like the emperor has no clothes suddenly, and I don't hear squawk from the IT team, from the compliance team, from all these people that care so much about security. And it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, I know. Because
well,
it checks boxes. It checks boxes for them.
yeah,
That's all they care about
right.
is if
It's
some other
certified, just
company
like you
can
said.
check up. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
And it's like okay, you have the YubiKey. You have to enter your SSH passphrase. You have to enter the PIN for the YubiKey. You have to verify your presence by tapping on the Y and tickling it a little bit. You have to do all that crap, and still you're not logging your SSH connections on your server. You have no idea who's actually
Oh,
connecting to your server.
great
You have
stuff.
no firewall like for that. You have none of this stuff. You basically push it all into the client, and yet your server is just like, yeah, whatever, man. Whoever has that client, just come on over, man. Don't worry, like connect. It's just what?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. It's been so long since I've really been involved with like the security side. Um, on so like specifically remediation and like malware. I didn't do any malware analysis myself, but I worked with people who did. And I thought that was a really interesting industry that was like there's this core of like really hardcore security researchers. This is just my impression. I was pretty young then, so I could be wrong. Who like really know what's going on. And then there's just an unbelievable business and marketing circus around the whole thing. That's really just like trying to productize this like I
Yeah,
don't know like
no,
thing.
dude. I mean, but it comes in waves. You've seen it. It came with the security wave, and then it was like the cost wave. Well, you have cloud costs too. Your cloud costs are high. Our
Oh
products will
yeah.
solve the cost for it, and we cost less.
Oh yeah.
Cost.
That's a
Bro,
great point.
you're like selling me the poison and the antidote
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah.
And you want me to drink them both just enough so I say like poison enough to not feel good, but okay enough that I'm not dead. And you want me that's what you want to keep
Yeah.
me in.
It's like we're trying to shape you up for just a longer term money extraction by Amazon.
Yeah,
It's like we want you to
exactly.
just stay alive a little longer.
Exactly. It's just like I
Yeah.
don't care about your cost saving product thing. How about I'm just going to learn the thing that I'm using and not be an idiot with what I'm deploying on it, and I'll save costs that way. Be smarter with what I'm doing. Maybe I'll just do that. You know how many people had to fight off in previous roles about like, Matthew, we see your da da da. We can do Kubernetes cost saving for you. Kubernetes cost saving. I'm like, my workloads don't aren't what you think they are. I
Yeah.
know what my workloads are.
Yeah.
You think you can save you think you can come in, install your stupid little agent, and tell me that I'm over provisioned here, my CPU requests are high there, and all that crap. You think you can just tell me the things that I already know, and that you're going to be like, we can dynamically provision your app. No, you can't, because I have a static workload that needs to run and be guaranteed resources. Like, I don't know what you want me to tell you. And it gets so frustrating. Sorry, I was getting a little mad there because it's just so
I can
frustrating.
tell that someone this week tried to book a sales call with you about just that. Yeah. You just reminded me of something really interesting. Are you okay if I like shift again slightly?
No, it's fine. I was gonna say about the 5 million code thing. I was like, damn, I don't think I've ever worked at a company that had 5 million lines of code.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I optimize for kind of small companies too. Um, he said about to coast into IBM. I don't know what I'm saying. Yeah, we'll see.
Oh yeah, where's your blue badge, dude? Come
this,
on, where's
bro,
that
this
blue
this
badge?
shit might come in handy soon. If I keep talking like this on a podcast, I am sure to get laid off soon. So like, it's a problem that solves itself.
All right, so that is the hard like fork between Oxide and like IBM. I'm encouraged to go on podcasts and talk and do
That's
these
cool.
things. Like, Brian Cantrell's not going to come knocking and be like, Matthew, by the way, can you come into my office and talk to me about what you said? Like he's not going to do that. He's going to be like, dude, nice, you're on I
I
heard you
know.
talking about this.
He's,
But
he's gonna be like, I have some serious things to discuss about what you said about Ubuntu on that podcast. It's much
yeah,
worse than you were saying. Let me
yeah,
talk to you for 3 hours about
that's
it. I have
exactly what he would
listened
do.
to all 9 hours of the Cantrilogy or whatever, and I actually more than once. That is how much of a nerd I am, and I
No,
enjoyed
it's so, but
both
you're not
times.
wrong. It's so, and I've had multiple people DM me like, it's okay to make YouTube videos. It's okay to go on blog, like on podcasts. It's okay to write blog posts. Other companies, I had HR DMing me, hey, you're supposed to get approval before some third party
Yeah,
interacted with you. And I was like, bitch, who are you? Oh, it's
yeah,
my personal
yeah,
time. It's
yeah.
8
I'm
o'clock
sorry,
at
I was
night. What you
exercising
mean
my constitutional
approval?
right to free speech out here too much.
I'm just like, what? Yeah, it's just the the culture is just so different. Sorry, you're going to take us somewhere.
No,
Take us to where
that's
you're going to take
wonderful.
us.
No, this is the. I'm glad we went here first. You reminded me in a couple ways, but especially you even referenced David Hannemeyer Hansen, DHH, earlier.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Wait,
and
he's okay to be Dave. My friend can't be Dave.
he's David. He's David.
Oh,
He's
so
David
sorry.
Hannemeyer Hansen.
Very
Is
true.
he from the
Actually,
Nordics somewhere? I'm not
actually
sure.
not wrong. Yeah.
No, maybe not the Nordic. Anyway, um, he had this interesting video that I saw called "Leaving the Cloud," and it was about Basecamp basically going back to a colo model after they saw like a $3+ million, for a fairly, let's say, small app. It's not small; it's serving a lot of people, but like small in relation to some of the things that we've worked on
This is for Basecamp.
for Basecamp.
Basecamp. No, 37 Signals is the company. Basecamp's the chat,
Yeah,
right? Okay.
exactly.
I always
And
get mixed up with.
and
with
Ruby
what
on
they're-
Rails is the framework that
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
came out of it. So like it's he's impactful and has had a huge impact on the industry in a way. And I thought it was really interesting. I've heard from it's just like like when real grassroots buzz is happening and you can kind of like hear it. You just suddenly are like hearing it, and it's not like put there by a company to market something. It's real.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing this like Amazon and all the clouds, they're just too expensive, too complicated. The people we have to hire are they they promise to make things like simpler in some sense, even cost wise, well, they stopped advertising with low cost after a few years when that clearly was not the case. But it's like, oh, you don't need like people to run your data center anymore. It's like, well, I need a lot of people to run a big AWS account, or
I
like a
need people to
big
just write me IAM policies at
yeah,
this point.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's totally fair. Um, anyway, and he saw a again comparatively small for the bills that I've seen personally, but a $3 to $4 million AWS bill, and was like, this. It was never this expensive to host stuff ourselves. So he decided
Oh yeah, I see
that
this. Yeah. $7
they were
million
going to go
dollars.
back to colo, and I think they're even doing it like a harder way than I would. Like they're actually buying the equipment, so it's like capex and like depreciating that stuff. Like they're buying physical
Yeah, yeah,
hardware.
yeah, yeah.
Like if I was doing this, I probably would like rent on something like OVH or Hetzner or one of those. Like where you can get a pretty dope server for a couple $100 a month. And
Yeah, I've read some of these articles. I don't know which exact one you're talking about. Oh, you're talking about leaving the cloud one. Okay, I
he
see
made
this
a
one.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
I think he
yeah,
made a
yeah.
video on YouTube or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is such a good use case, and he's right to like think about this. We at Oxide call it cloud repatriation, or at least that's the marketing term that
Yeah, I've heard
we
that.
follow
Yeah.
with people that are talking about this. And it's true. I think Basecamp would be a good Oxide customer. Actually, I might have to talk internally. No, but you at some point you have to look at the bill. You have to look at that bill and be like, okay, $3.8 million or $3.2 million in 2022, and you have to just be like, what value did we get out of that? You know what I mean? Did we get
And that's
$3.2
a
million
small bill.
of value? Yeah,
That's
it
a
is a small bill.
AWS bill, and it
That's
doesn't
some people's
include
monthlies.
the engineers that have to then
Oh
work
yeah.
on that. You just need AWS people after that, like people like us.
And they were getting away not only from the cloud, but also like some of the Kubernetes concepts. They were moving back like off of Kubernetes and more towards their own either EC or like, their own container management stuff
Yeah.
or just bare metal sort of deal.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty interesting too, because I like this. I wish more companies would actually have the respect for themselves to be like, wait a minute, are we getting like reamed over the coals by these cloud providers? Like, do we actually have the development skill to do this? Because the arguments are so weird. It's like, you're gonna tell me you hire the best and brightest engineers. We hire the best we can, but they're dumb enough to they're too dumb to work on infra. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Right.
Or they're too smart.
A Linux shell, like
Yeah.
no.
So it's either they're not smart enough to do the infra stuff because that's hard. It's either that, or they're too smart to work on such infra stuff that's beneath them. It's like, what? What do you mean?
I have a conspiracy theory. Are you ready?
Yeah,
about
I'm
that
ready.
that exact thing. I think it is to distract and confuse people about what it actually means to run on like your own hardware, not on the cloud, into thinking it is literally like that you have to buy servers and run them in colo yourself or like build a data center because that's always Amazon. That's the picture they're always painting. But like the path that most people would actually take to get off the cloud would be to go to a data center company that is doing all this, and literally you just click on the servers you want. They're provisioned in minutes at most. Um, and then you suddenly have a server that is for $500 that's doing what like 15 of your whatever generation quad XLs were doing, um, for a couple $100 a month, for say $500 a month. Oh, and it also has a terabyte of RAM in it. Like, oh,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
cool.
I I think people just lie to themselves about how important their apps are, like, and how many
Yeah,
users
that's
they
fair.
have and how what scale they need to access operate at. Oh, I got to be ready for scale to million. If not, you're not gonna make it. No, you're not even seeing a million people on your site
Yeah,
ever. What do you mean?
yeah.
Why are you over architecting up front for this? And then now, if you did get a million people overnight, that means a million people's worth of egress fees, instant
Oh yeah,
scaling. Like
yeah.
you're basically allowing users to increase your cost just by coming to your website.
Oh yeah,
So like I could just
yeah.
DDoS you and put you out of business because I know that your cost is somewhat proportional to the amount of traffic you get. So if I DDoS you, I can make you pay a larger bill. You're
Yeah.
saying you're okay with that? Like you're fine with this? Are you kidding me?
It's
Yeah,
amazing. I think
it's weird.
that's the craziness with Lambda is like Lambda, people were like, "Oh, it's so expensive." So they were like, "Oh yeah, it's like free. It's like a billionth of a cent per request or whatever." But then it's like,
But
but
I
then
can
you
have
don't have
trillions on
a
your site tomorrow.
yes,
So like, what do you mean?
exactly.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
then
yeah.
you don't have a fixed and capped cost anymore, like renting a server. It's just like it's like now you have infinite
And then they
cost
also like,
potentially.
oh, we can't go down. It's too important to go down. No, you're not important. You're not too important to go down. You're not a
Yeah.
life critical
But our users would
service.
be angry.
Yeah, yeah. You're not some mission critical life saving service thing
Yeah.
that you can't
You're not
possibly go
running a
down.
fucking ER here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. You're
exactly.
not a hyperscaler or any of this stuff. You're freaking. You're a clothing store. Who cares? You go down. Who cares, dude?
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather see you have 20 minutes of downtime than getting freaking DDoS and complain on Twitter that your bill was $1 million or whatever. Take
Yeah.
the freaking downtime then, man. Who cares?
Yeah.
It's just like you're not that important to that you can't have downtime or whatever. So what? I bought my $500 a month Hetzner server or whatever, and my traffic exceeded its bandwidth and it went down. Great. I know where my
They don't
scaling
have
limits
bandwidth
are.
caps.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
sorry.
At
There's
least
no
at
bandwidth
least
caps.
at least that's my circuit breaker of at least I know I'm not gonna get a bill coming
Yeah.
in the mail.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
I don't
worst
know.
case
It's
of one of
weird.
those is like one of your servers dies, but like guess what? You don't have to drive to the data center. That's what that company does. Like in 5 minutes you have a new one. Like
Yeah, I know.
just
I know.
relax.
It,
Yeah,
it's
it's
it's weird to me. I like to see this cloud repatriation stuff. I like to see companies and articles like this where they're like, "We got off the
yeah.
cloud, you can too," because it's we should go back a little bit to basics of how the heck is our app even deployed? How the heck does our infrastructure look like? We should kind of talk about that stuff again rather than just saying, "LOL, I don't know." Click, 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 and that's what it does. Ha, no idea. Like that's it sounds like it's mature and whatever and it's cool. Like I just do a zero click deploy and everything's going. But it also sounds so childish. It's like, I don't actually know how this works. Okay, bye. Like you sound ignorant when you say that. It's
Yeah.
like, but that's what the platform does. Okay, so then what value do you provide? You just push code to a platform and you have no idea what happens from there?
I mean, that's the dream, but that's
Like
the thing.
what?
It's like to us that sounds horrific because you're farming out like a core part of your business, but I bet you for business people that sounds pretty amazing because they're like, we're not, I mean, this whole thing that Amazon marketed forever. We're not in the data center business. Like you're in the whatever your app is business. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like you're in the dick pic business, like the swiping business. Like that's what you should focus
Focus on
on.
your business core. Focus on your
Exactly.
business value. Business
We'll
value.
we'll just
But it's
take
like,
care of the
yeah, yeah. But it's like I did that, and my business value still sucks. So what am I supposed to be doing now? Like you know what I mean? It's just so backwards. It's like, we'll take care of your infrastructure. You just do your business, honey. Okay, I did that. I'm paying more and shipping more
Yeah.
infrequently. What did I do? I'd rather just, if I need tech to run my business, I'd rather just know what tech I'm using to run my business.
I know we should have had 2 beers before doing this.
What do you
We're
think?
losing our cool. That's the
you,
modern tech
you
worker's
can't
way.
see anything in here, so
It's like,
what
oh,
did
I'm
you
just
need?
sipping a matcha latte, probably, or it's whiskey. It's whiskey.
Or it's whiskey. No, it's water. Okay, for the kids. Do it for the kids. Oh, was I supposed to talk about the articles that I found?
Yeah, drop your articles. I'm interested in hearing about this. I will
Okay,
stop
okay.
going down rabbit holes. I promise.
No, it's perfectly fine. The first one is from Hacker News, and it's, well, I can't say it's from Hacker News because it was just posted to Hacker News, but it was Railway's blog, about, so you want to build your own data center, published today, and it's basically about Railway saying, hey, Railway has been built on top of Google Cloud, and we're kind of done with that, so we're building our own, like we're doing our own on-prem stuff. And basically they rented a colo, put some servers in there, and like made it live so people can deploy there, because they got tired of Google Cloud's downtime, Google Cloud's support being subpar. Basically they said, we pay you millions of dollars in annual spend and you treat us like we pay you $100. Things break and you get no explanation for what's going on, and costs, right? So like they got mad about the cloud and they're like, I'm getting out of here.
So
And
every place that Google Cloud is supposed to add value, they're actually
they're
not
not.
adding
Yeah, they're a
value.
business risk. Yeah, exactly.
Amazing.
Yeah, crazy. And the article itself is interesting. It towards the middle, it kind of gets a little like that we were talking about before, where it's like, you can not use React and build HTML directly. No way. It kind of gets a little bit like that in the middle of the article, where it's like, you could just rack servers. No way. Like, yeah, no duh. But sorry, but what I really liked about it was that it took them 9 months to do this, which is pretty long in my opinion, but not that long in the terms of like them saving money in the long run. You know what I mean? It's going to save them money over like the next 5, maybe 10 years. So 9 months is a drop in the bucket for that. But I'm like, I'm going to read you a part of the article. Said, it took us 5 long months to get the first servers plugged in. It took us an additional 3 months before we felt comfortable letting our users onto the hardware. And I was just, and then later on in the article, they show pictures of like cabling the servers, and like they said they hired someone to do the cable management. And I was just, in my mind, I'm like, yo, we could have had your Oxide rack running in hours, not months. Like, what are you doing here? And it just made me think that I'm glad to see this cloud repatriation stuff, but like, I'm actually not happy to see it with commodity 1U hardware. It's just like
I agree.
it's just
That
that
might
takes
be
so
a little
long.
outmoded. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it was a good article. Overall, just showing that you can do this, and don't be afraid to do it if you want. Would I
So
rack a
did they
bunch of
say
1U
how much?
servers? Probably not.
Yeah.
No, this. They titled this article as part one, or at least in the URL, it's called part one. So I imagine they'll get more into it later. But Hacker News was like, need more details. What are y'all doing? So how typical Hacker News is.
Yeah, that's fair. Did they say anything about how much they're saving?
No, they didn't mention cost yet. I think they need to let it run for a little while to get more
I see.
measurements.
Yeah.
But one thing here, one big part of the article was about power, like literal power,
Mm-hmm.
and how much power budget can affect your pricing and whatnot. And this is another place where I was just like, racking a bunch of 1U servers, each with their own two active passive power supplies, each plugging
Yeah.
into two different power things. I'm like, you can just buy an Oxide rack, bro. you can save your power bill so much better. But anyway, yeah, this was cool. It was nice to read this article. I hope to follow up. I hope to see like a part 2, part 3, where they talk more about costs, because Basecamp is like, yeah, we save millions, and Railway is just like, we're building a data center, but we're not telling you anything
TBD.
yet. Yeah, yeah.
See, that is fascinating to me. The build the data center approach. I just maybe are they really big?
I mean, they're not building a data center. They're renting colo space. They're
Okay,
calling it
it's
building a data
Resident Evil.
center.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I mean, and that's another
this is
Hacker News
like
comment.
I don't understand like why everyone buys into like Amazon's essentially like the ideas they like planted 15 years ago, about the alternatives. Yeah, it's just like I I'd like to see this up close. Maybe at my next gig I'll try and find something where I can move somebody out of the cloud because I would like to see it up close and solve whatever problems need to get solved because I would love to like wouldn't it be cool to like make a course, write a book that's like, hey, here's like how to do this actually, like based on
Yeah,
experience.
I think that would be cool because I don't know, and it's cool to teach people that of ownership again is what I'm trying to say. Like there's one of my colleagues at work basically has a quote in so many words of it's your computer, do whatever you want with it, and referring to the Oxide computer that when you buy one,
Hmm.
it's not our computer anymore. It's yours. You can do whatever you really want with it. You own it, and like you can't say that about the cloud providers. You don't own any of that compute. You don't even own the damn network. You own nothing. Like if you put data on that system, it's actually not even yours technically. I mean, it is legally your data still, but you can't go pull the drive out with the data on it or whatever. You can't. It's not yours. You don't own the hardware. So it's like I would like to see that change and ownership become more of a thing where businesses can say for sure, like, yeah, our business is right there. It's in that rack. Like, that'd just be cool again.
Yeah. Um, I also think like, I mean, maybe one of the big arguments, like cost is one thing, but and I guess this is a different kind of cost, but just like the tremendous complexity that cloud architectures always turn into when it's like you have the simplest web app and it's like, well, it should be like five microservices. There's like two queues in there, you know. It's like you have like a managed database that's like, if you look at the quality of a managed database, like it's not great. Like, yeah,
The
I just feel like,
managed databases are like it's like hauling loads where it's like the databases are the loads and they're running an old version and we're like, okay, come on everyone, time to upgrade
yeah,
to the next version of the database
yeah.
and let's
And then
bring you
everyone,
along. That's what it feels like to be a managed database. It's like come along for the ride.
yeah. And you just have so little, well, control. Like, even in terms of well, whatever, like, sometimes maybe you want like fast search and not like post PG trigram or whatever
Yeah,
search.
yeah.
You want to like do your own thing. Like, you're just very restricted. You can't. I guess what I'm getting is like, and it's kind of what you said about ownership. It's like when you own the thing, when you know the thing, you have a type of leverage where you can just do things easily, maybe that other people can't do. They can't replicate it the same way. They have to do some really complicated or expensive thing. And I guess part of me, the reason I like it is I'm always like listening or looking for technologies especially, but like things where just people are having more leverage. Like that's why I picked like Elixir, like Discord and all that stuff. It's like they were running, it was like billions of users with like I think it was like 30 or 50 people
Yeah.
at the
Stack
company.
Exchange used to
It's like,
like post what they did every year. I think they were a .NET shop
mm,
and Microsoft shop, but they
yeah, I
used to
remember
post
reading
there
those.
like
Those were
the
great.
whole entirety of Stack Exchange was running in a rack, literally a rack of servers, and they're like, "Here's our rack, and here's how we do it, and here's how Stack Exchange runs." And it's just so cool. It's like they owned it and they designed and they did it, and I'm like, that's cool, and that's something we should be able to do again. Is give ownership back to people and let them
Yeah,
understand what they're actually running again and have that power, and not just give it to the cloud provider so they can doubly charge for it. And it's funny too because it's like you think the cloud providers are doing anything super magical at the end of the day? Like managed Postgres is still Postgres, buddy. you know, when you say like give me my parameters or whatever, they're just running the commands for you
yeah.
that you
That's
can
like
run
making it
yourself.
into a config.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, or
Like the
changing
Amazon load
settings.
balancer, I think was like HA proxy under the hood or something for a while. Like you can do that yourself too, man. Like you can still do that. It's not
Yeah,
magical
it's
sauce.
that's the genius of like marketing and branding, right? It's like
Yeah.
that's why business and marketing like execs are always like, no, we can't just say this is just Engine X, right? It has to be like our
Right. Well,
magical like magic serve.
the
You know, it's like
Amazon
they like
ELB.
brand
Yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
No, I
exactly.
know, and I'm not trying to disparage like the hard work engineers at these companies that are putting really good automation around it or integrating it well. I'm not saying that their work is useless or whatever. I'm just saying like let's not pretend it's unattainable magic that nobody else can get. Like because it's not. Like I can get a load balancer if I wanted one. I can get a database if I wanted one. You didn't write Nginx. You didn't write HA proxy. You didn't
Yeah,
write
I barely
Postgres.
contribute to this project.
Right. You didn't write Elasticsearch or whatever. Maybe now you did with the fork or whatever. I don't know. But like you didn't write Redis. You're taking everyone's services. You're packaging them up, and you're saying, "Here's my managed service."
Yeah,
Not magic, right? Like there's no
yeah,
magic there.
yeah. And there's nothing. I mean, okay, having S3 is pretty magical, but like Backblaze exists, so I don't know why you want to pay more. But like you can
Right.
also do, it's not like you can only do very simple like architectures or stuff. You don't need like just one rack and colo or whatever. It's like you can build insanely high reliability distributed systems too. You just rent
Yeah.
another rack somewhere else and then a third one.
Correct.
Like it's the same model. You can use the same amount of
Yeah.
people to do it. Like the
And there are networking links that you can pay to be on that will like make the
yeah,
latency between those three
yeah,
locations or whatever low
yeah,
and good throughput. Like you can do this. Let's not pretend that you can't. Sure, ran miles of fiber for
yeah.
sure, but
Yeah,
like
and Google has a worldwide
yeah,
dark fiber like network. Yeah.
right. But you can get pretty close.
Can I just want to pitch I always do this, but I always I want to kind of
You said you
shill
were gonna
for
tangent
this.
me. God damn it.
No, oh, sorry. Okay, everyone just go watch a talk at Gig City Elixir by Brian something, I'm sorry for getting the last name, called Water Park. If you just search Water Park Gig City Elixir, it's an incredible talk about some people that did this for a very, very complicated application that handles, I think it's 6% of US healthcare, uh, like
Oh,
data
it's a
and
20
traffic and
2013
everything. It is a
Gig City 2013.
2013. Oh, it's got to be more.
Sorry. Oh
No,
my
it's like
god. Gig
2019 maybe.
City 23.
2023. Okay,
2023. Sorry. My
awesome.
bad.
It's an incredible
Can't.
talk.
Yeah, I couldn't make the numbers work.
I was like 13. Damn. Like I wonder
No,
what
no,
the
no.
because that was like a
Yeah.
spaceship when I heard about it. I was like, this is the future.
No, this is cool.
Um, worth a watch. Sorry, that's it. I'll mute myself.
You have to mute yourself. No, I get. Well, the only other article that I looked at that was that caught my eye was less tech related, but more just like world related, and it was just is the world becoming uninsurable? And this was also posted on Hacker News, but it was on some Charlie Hugh Smith's Substack or whatever. And it was basically like a thought piece about, hey, like LA fires, earthquakes, hurricanes, insurance companies are pulling out of all these high risk areas. Like, can we even get insurance for these things? Is the world becoming uninsurable? Like, what's going on? And I thought that was an interesting article because I've lived in hurricane zones, and yeah, rates go
Right.
up, and nowadays they're not even like insuring a lot of people. So it's like, what's the future for insurance? What's the future for disasters for people? Like how, like financially, how does this work? And yeah, I don't know. The article like kind of lists a bunch of small case studies of different things, and it makes me very happy that I live in the Northeast United States where disaster stuff is very minimal, like weather related natural stuff, very minimal with comparison to the rest of the country.
Yeah,
So
it's like power outages, a lot of snow on your roof, like
yeah,
cold.
and like power outages don't last very long here if we get them because we're so close to New York that like it just stays up, you know? I don't know. It's just interesting. We don't have a lot of trees to down lines here. Maybe if you move like west, but yeah, I don't know. There's a good article to just look at, and kind of contemplate like what your
Ponder the state of the world.
yeah, kind of contemplate what your insurance sort of story is and what you're willing to accept. Because if I live somewhere and the insurance company is like, I can't insure your house, I'd have to move, right?
Yeah,
Like
like you can't
I
live
couldn't
there. Yeah,
take, I couldn't take that risk. But then
it's an
it's gonna be
enormous
harder
risk.
to move because then the next person can't get insured either, and they're not gonna
Yeah,
want to buy your
it's
house.
gonna
So
drive
it's
down
like,
prices in an area.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So it's kind of scary because you can like really financially hurt your whole life by a decision that you didn't even make. Like what if one day someone's like, "Oh, I don't want to insure your house in New Jersey because you're in that one spot where the aliens came or something." Like, what if someone said that? I'm screwed because of something that I can't control. Like that feels bad.
that's pretty interesting. Um,
Sorry,
yeah,
not
it's like
tech
wow.
related, but people are not great with finances. They don't budget. They don't look at their bank account. Nothing. They're like, generally people are pretty bad with finances, and they shouldn't be. And money's treated as like a stigma that you can't talk about. Whatever. So it's like I just want people to be better with their money and realize that like the people that are wealthy are managing their money well and not paying for 5,000 subscription services like you are. You should probably audit yourself and see what's going on.
Yeah,
And like I did that a couple
fair
times and I'm
enough.
like, dude, why I always ask myself the same question. Am I getting $9.99 worth of value out of this thing? No.
Dude.
Okay,
Yeah,
cancel. like okay, pen and paper. Look at this. Pen and paper works just fine for my notes. I don't need to sync them to 5,000 devices so I can access them while I'm on the treadmill in the gym or taking a crap. I don't need to do that, man. I can be focused on the task when I'm doing it. Like I feel like we're almost lied to with a lot of these subscription services because there's like usually the point is pay us for the service so you can access it at any time. But I
uh-huh.
don't really want to access the service at any time. I,
You
I
don't
want to
want
access the service when I'm
poopnotes.com
right. Yeah, I want
notes
to
while you're
access the
pooping?
service when I'm using it. Like when I'm focused on using it. Like I don't need to be on the go writing a note. You know what I mean? I'm not
I
focused
know
at
what
that
you
point.
mean.
Yeah, I can just temporarily write it and transfer it to my notes when I get back home. It's perfectly fine. Which yeah, I don't know. Brings up a
Matthew,
minor topic.
I'm with you.
Yeah,
Go
brings
ahead.
up a minor point of mine of like being more focused with the time that I have. Like instead of my phone trying to shove 5,000 notifications down my throat and try to vie for my attention, if I'm taking notes, I'm taking notes. That's what I'm doing. If I'm reading a book, I'm reading a book. If I'm watching a YouTube video, I'm watching the YouTube video. I'm not like trying to multitask all these things anymore because I realize that shit don't work. And
No,
it makes me
it never
dumber.
worked.
It makes me less productive. It like wastes way more time. And I'm like, you
Yeah.
know what? This 20-minute YouTube video, great. I'm going to focus for 20 minutes and actually watch this thing rather than half watching it for 45 minutes because I was back and forth texting with this and that. Like, it's just such a waste of freaking time and it's annoying.
I'm with you.
Sorry. That was
Yeah,
not news. That
I'm
wasn't
here
news.
for you. It was
I'm
news to
sorry.
me.
Yeah, you're
That
welcome.
was new to me. Actually, it's not new to me. I have that same fight. Um,
No, you know
listen,
what it was? I found,
go
sorry, I
ahead.
know we're trying to wrap up.
It's all
Uh,
good.
because I found my attention span getting bad. Like I felt it.
Uh,
I was like, why
Especially
can't I
for us, that's
focus?
like our biggest asset, kind of. It's
Yeah,
like our
yeah.
concentrating power.
I just was looking at myself one day and I was like, my attention span is garbage. My focus time has been
Well,
garbage lately. So I've been like practicing and doing that, and it's so much better now. Like
wow.
it's so much better. So
You've noticed an impact, huh?
yeah, I noticed the deterioration of it where I was having like 50,000 screens open and trying to talk to my friend, but also write notes, but also do this, but also do that. I felt myself just being trash. And then I was like, you know what? Let me cut out the noise and focus on things. And now like my focus time it's easier for me to get into focus time and easier for me to like get out of it when I need to like go to the next thing. So
Very
it's been
cool.
better. If you could like watch yourself or like if you could like sort of track your time a little bit. I don't mean like crazily. Just every now and then just write down what you think you did or try to recall what you how much time you spent on certain things
Hmm.
and just measure it a little bit. You'd be surprised. You'll be like, wow, I'm doing bad. You know, like
Yeah, I
I should
notice.
be better.
I'm especially with a kid now. Like I notice the thing that never works is like trying, and it's very tempting, trying to split your attention, even
Can't
just
do it.
between like two things. Like, oh, I'm gonna like hang out with my kid, but also like I want to be near him, on the couch, but I'll also like look at this work thing. It's like, dude, just close
Nope.
the
Yep.
laptop.
I don't
Like,
even do
yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah.
I see it with
Well,
my wife.
it's very tempting, and then as soon as I notice I'm doing it, I'm like, oh, I gotta stop right now. But yeah, getting
Yeah.
into the habit of like catching yourself is
It's
hard.
hard. It's hard because all this stuff's addictive and it's meant to like keep
Yeah,
your attention. The
yeah.
only
It's
time I'll
addictive on
ever
purpose. It's
split,
not
yeah,
like
yeah.
accidentally
The,
addictive. Yeah,
the only time I ever split my attention, so to speak, is if I'm driving, listening to a podcast, or cutting the
yeah,
grass, listening to a podcast. That's
yeah.
different because like
That's very pleasurable too. It's like,
yeah, yeah, because cutting grass doesn't really take a lot of focus time, right? You're just kind of going through the motions. So I can listen to the podcast. Same thing with driving. Like, not that driving is not focus time because it is, but I don't need my ears so much. I can listen to the thing. So yeah, I don't know. It's something that I think people should be aware of because I see a lot of people burning hours on dumb shit.
yeah.
So anyway,
Word to the wise. I'm wise now.
how long did we go? How does this say? Where does this
I'm
say
gonna have
it?
to cut this down.
I don't even know how long it
We
goes.
went an hour and a half.
Where do you see
I think
that?
we covered four. I see it on the record button down here. I think we covered four Hacker News stories in an hour and a half.
Well, listen, man, I
I'm
don't know what you
fine
may
with this,
tell you.
honestly. I don't really care.